Good morning. Welcome to An Open Door. This is your regular Tuesday morning gathering at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. But if you're listening to it later on, then wherever you are, we're glad to have you here in whatever form you come in. So this is called Training Wheels. This is where we really review the Course in Miracles daily lessons. And at first we started out with using a book I wrote called Training Wheels, in which I wrote the lessons in a language that made sense to me at the time. And now I find that we're coming back to the original language because it just goes so much deeper and wider than I originally understood it as. And now I'm just finding so much new stuff in it that it makes sense to share it that way. So today we're on lesson 107, which is Truth Will Correct All Errors in My Mind. And I'm going to just hang in here for a couple minutes so that people can join and just ask you to just sit in your seat and relax in your seat, relax wherever you are, and just be present with yourself. Be present in this moment as people join. We're going to do a bit of a meditation this morning, but as we do the meditation, it's really going to be more of a guided contemplation, which is something that I just love doing. But I'm going to read from the lesson first, and then we're going to sit. And I'm going to try to just do some prompting as we sit in the meditation. I want to begin with a quote from Rupert Spira, and I'm going to quote from Rupert Spira throughout the morning. These are two quotes that essentially say the same thing. And he said, and I don't know where this quote is from because I don't know what book, because I just wrote it down as I was listening to him at one point. So I can't tell you what book this is from, but he said, the mind's knowledge of the world can only ever be as good as the mind's knowledge of itself. The mind's knowledge of the world can only ever be as good as the mind's knowledge of itself. To know the ultimate nature of one's mind is as close to God as you can get. To know the ultimate nature of one's mind is as close to God as you can get. And then he also said, because your understanding of the universe happens within your own consciousness, your understanding of the world can never be deeper than your understanding of the consciousness perceiving it. It's basically the same thing he's saying in two different quotes, and I'll read the second one again. Because your understanding of the universe happens within your own consciousness, your understanding of the world can never be deeper than your understanding of the consciousness perceiving it. And I want to quote from chapter 15, which Cindy read from us, taught from us yesterday. And it's from paragraph 8 in section 8. The Course tells us your relations are with the universe. Your relations are with the universe. And Spira just told us that your understanding of the universe can only be as deep as your understanding of your own consciousness, because it's with your own consciousness that you perceive the universe. And so we begin with that, with lesson 107. And I'm going to read from it. I'm going to read from it and maybe have a little of my own commentary. And I want to thank all of you who are joining on time. I want to thank you, because when I start these lessons, I often want to set the stage. And so when you join right at the beginning, it's really helpful. It's helpful for me because I know that you're with me as we go through this together. So lesson 107 is where we are. Truth will correct all errors in my mind. And my addition to this is, just as consciousness is self-illuminating, truth is self-correcting. Truth is self-correcting, just as the knowing of the self is self-illuminating. And what are errors but illusions that remain unrecognized for what they are? Where truth has entered, error disappears. And I want to remind us that there's no effort here. Truth enters on its own. Right? It seems there's effort as we seek and we seek and we seek. But when we're finished seeking, we understand the truth was always there. And that the only thing that's asked is a little willingness. And willingness is the natural result when everything that the illusions seem to have offered have failed. And that's not in the text. That's something that I'm offering. I'll say that again. The only thing that is asked to know the truth is willingness. And willingness is the natural result when everything the illusions seem to have offered the egoic mind have failed. The illusions are gone because without belief, they have no life. And so they disappear to nothingness, returning whence they came. The illusions are an idea of separation. They're just the idea that separation could be made real. And that idea made into form. And once seen as an idea only, the rest naturally falls away. The guides are telling us that the body, and indeed all material form is becoming less dense as we begin to stop feeding the idea that form is reality. Truth will correct all errors in my mind. From dust to dust they come and go, for only truth remains. Right? The wave function collapses. Each moment is made anew. Can you imagine a state of mind without illusion? Try to remember when there was a time, perhaps a minute, maybe even less, when nothing came to interrupt your peace, when you were certain you were loved and safe. Then try to picture what it would be like to have that moment extended to the end of time and to eternity. And then let the sense of quiet that you felt be multiplied 100 times and then multiplied another 100 more. And now you have a hint, not more than just the faintest intimation of the state your mind will rest in when the truth has come. Without illusions, there can be no fear, no doubt, and no attack. When truth has come, all pain is over, for there is no room for transitory thoughts and dead ideas to linger in your mind. Truth occupies your mind completely, liberating you from all beliefs in the ephemeral. I'm going to read this again as we enter into the meditation. I want to ask you to think of a couple of other things first. Let's look at paragraph 5. When truth has come, it harbors in its wings the gift of perfect constancy and love, which does not falter in the face of pain, but looks beyond it steadily and surely. Truth does not come and go, nor shift and change in this appearance now and then in that, evading capture and escaping grasp. It does not hide. It stands in open light, in obvious accessibility. It is impossible that anyone could seek it truly and would not succeed. We look at the truth, which is right there, which is the awareness that I am right now, right now, right now. Obvious, right? Perfectly constant, right? Never changing. Shared, this realization I am, shared by everything and everyone. The one truth that surpasses everything else. I am here. Some people say, well, that's empty. That's nothing. So before we go into meditation on this lesson, I want to just take a look at some Zen teachings about this emptiness, this no-thingness. What does that mean? Because I don't want to leave us at that doorstep where we just think it's empty and nothing. So here's a teaching, a Zen teaching. If I am holding a cup of water and I ask you, is this cup empty? You will say, no, it's full of water. But if I pour out the water and I ask you again, you may say, yes, it's empty. But empty of what? Empty means empty of something. The cup cannot be empty of nothing. Empty doesn't mean anything unless you know. Empty of what? My cup is empty of water, but it's not empty of air. To be empty is to be empty of something. And this is quite a discovery, because this is a teaching that is beyond the mind, that only knows itself in existence because it thinks it's an object. So if I ask, empty of what? Then there has to be an answer. And this is what they say. They are empty of a separate self. They're empty of a separate self. And that's what we're going to contemplate. Emptiness means empty of a separate self, but it's full of everything. Right? It's empty and full at the same time. So what is this truth that will correct all errors in my mind? So let's sit and just relax. I'm going to turn my screen off. And you can keep your screen on, or you can turn it off as you wish. And we begin. We begin by asking, what is it that goes with you as you begin this meditation? What comes with you? And ask that the truth be with you in your awareness. And the truth is whatever is arising for you now. You are not made of flesh or bone, but you were created by the same thought, which is the Creator itself. You are created by the same thought that created every other thing. So how can there be no thing when all things were created in the one mind, the one love, the absolute? So what goes with you in this meditation? It can only be the self, the big S self, and ask that it goes with you. Extend yourself into this meditation toward yourself. And then let whatever arises lead you gently. Rupert Spira says, only that which is always with you can be said to be yourself. And if you look closely and simply at experience, only awareness is always with you. Only that which is always with you can be yourself. And if you look closely and simply at experience, only awareness is always with you. Rupert says, cease being exclusively fascinated by whatever you are aware of, and be interested instead in the experience of being aware itself. Cease being exclusively fascinated by whatever you are aware of, and be interested instead in the experience of being aware itself. It is impossible to experience the appearance of awareness because we are that awareness to which such an appearance would occur. It is impossible to experience the appearance of awareness. We are that awareness to which such an appearance would occur. Have we ever experienced the disappearance of awareness? If we think the answer is yes, then what is it that is present and aware to experience the apparent disappearance of awareness? Whatever that is, must be aware and present. It must be awareness. And this knowing is our self, aware presence. In other words, all that is ever experienced is our self, knowing itself, aware of awareness. This knowing is our self, our aware presence, and all that is ever experienced is our self, knowing itself, awareness, aware of awareness. When truth comes, it does not stay a while to disappear or change to something else. It does not shift and alter in its form, nor come and go and come again. It stays exactly as it always was, to be depended on in every need and trusted with a perfect trust in all the seeming difficulties and the doubts that the appearances of the world engender. They will merely blow away when truth corrects the errors in your mind. A mind that is accustomed to repeatedly dissolving in its source or essence or self becomes progressively saturated with its own inherent peace. A mind that is accustomed to repeatedly dissolving in its source or essence or self becomes progressively saturated with its own inherent peace. And when such a mind rises again from the ocean of awareness, its activity makes that peace available to all of humanity. When such a mind rises again from the ocean of awareness, its activity makes that peace available to all of humanity. Truth will correct all errors in my mind, and I will rest in Him who is myself. When you are ready, I invite you to just become present in your heart, feeling your heart center, gently knowing yourself that. Take some deep breaths. Coming back into the body, to the hands and the feet. And come on back and we can talk about this lesson. What I love about all the teachings together, it's like each one of the teachings is part of a recipe. And when I put them all together, I make a beautiful pie for myself. Right? I make a beautiful dinner. I make a beautiful recipe. And the flavors of what I make come out with each teaching. Each teaching just adds a different flavor. So the Buddhist teaching about emptiness, not really being what we think of as emptiness, but actually being fullness, the fullness of everything. It's so empty that it contains and holds everything, right? There's nothing that it doesn't contain. And yet only itself is the ultimate truth. And Rupert's teaching about awareness and the self, it adds to the Course teaching. The Course wants us to rest in Him who is myself, which feels a little like resting in something outside yourself. And I can't reach that. But when I know that the self is within me and that it's my own awareness, and I understand that it has never left me and never will, then I understand the Course teaching, right? Then I understand that that truth has come, right? And it doesn't stay a while to disappear and come and then disappear again. It's always there. And then the more my mind is accustomed to repeatedly dissolving the egoic self into the essence of the big S self, it becomes progressively saturated with this inherent peace. And I love that. It's a progressive saturation. So that's what I've got this morning. And I'm going to open it up now. Good morning, Sandra.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, dear Amy. I don't know why I'm jumping in, but I am. So, um, as you were speaking, as you were leading us, I have a deep sense of peace and serenity. I love the word serenity. Because in this experience that I'm living, when the truth is spoken, it evokes the peace that passes all understanding. It just permeates the body and the mind. And there isn't a whole lot of thinking. However, a few thoughts that came to mind that I'll share are something we heard yesterday, because you're right, it all links together. It all links together. The truth is the truth. And what I heard yesterday, I put down here on my his care and concern for you are limitless. So I am always cared for. And we could take the word his and say it or myself. It doesn't matter. um, but the care and concern is limitless. And the other one was, he will not fail you, for he came from one who cannot fail. So I get to come to these meetings and I get to listen and meditate with this underlying sense of confidence that all I have to do really is be willing to say yes. And there's no possibility of failure at all. And I just love that. And then today, where truth has entered, errors disappear. So that's the water being poured out of the glass. The errors in thinking, the false beliefs, they're just mistakes that are easily corrected. They don't seem like they're easily corrected when we're in the world, like when we're in the midst of the storm, but the truth is always available. It cannot fail. And there is a force, a power, God, that's there. I'm not on my own, even though I'm only one, I'm not on my own. There is this underlying arms that hold me and care for me, and that is limitless. And there is no possibility of failure. Illusions can be brought to truth to be corrected. It does not hide. The truth does not hide. It stands in open light, in obvious accessibility. And here's the line I love. It is impossible that anyone could seek it truly and would not succeed. That's in paragraph 6 or 7. I don't remember. And then when it says today belongs to the truth, this second belongs to the truth, moment by moment by moment. And yes, the mind, the world has seductive quality. There's a reason we're here for these experiences. I know that. And we can, what it says somewhere, Amy, you were reading it, that we were led gently to the truth. And then we can come back and look gladly upon the world, for we bring with us the promise of the change. to the world. It's not like we go back and forth and back. Like you said, we don't lose awareness, but we bring with us to these experiences. So for me right now, the experience of potentially losing my hearing, I bring that to the world. I bring the awareness that I cannot fail, and I'm not talking about cures or anything. I'm just talking about being. And I continue to relish the joy that I have in being, no matter what. And it's just so amazing to me that it's right here for the taking. There are the only obstacle, and it's not really an obstacle because we know it's not true, is the old pattern mind that wants to get caught up in the old illusions. And yet here we're told today, not tomorrow, not when I get more spiritual, not when I figure it out, not when I get everything to line up the way I want, but today will correct all errors in my mind. Right here, right now. And then it has another promise at the end of this lesson that I love. As I correct those errors in my mind, others are corrected. It emanates. It doesn't, I'm not separate, right? So I don't have to go stand on the street with a sign, that I see a lot of people around here. Like I don't know if it's every Saturday, Alice, or something. They stand out on the highway with a sign, condemning Trump and this and that. All I need to do is sit here in my little lovely peace and correct the errors in my mind. No, let them be corrected. I'll put it that way instead. So there it is. I guess that's why I raised my hand. I wasn't quite sure why I was raising my hand.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Sandra.
you. And Amy, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Yeah, I love the last quote, a mind that is accustomed to repeatedly dissolving itself into its source. That just, and what is that repeated dissolving? It's just sitting in quiet in the now, right? And it becomes progressively saturated with its own inherent peace, right? And then that activity, which you don't think of peace as being an activity, it makes it available to all of humanity. Peace is its own activity. I love that. Good morning, Patricia. Good to see you.
Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to see you all. I'm part of a Rupert group, and we met on Sunday. And one of the things that Rupert says, it's like when the mind is just so nasty or mean or whatever, it's on a roll. I call it the rah-rahs. When my mind has got a bad case of the rah-rahs, he says, open the back door of your head and leave. And I've been doing that, and it's like leaving into the present, into the moment, and it's spacious. And I sigh with gratitude and relief. So I pass that on to you. Please feel free to open up the door in the back of your head and feel free to leave.
Thank you. That's a wonderful image. Yeah. Livy and then Lonnie.
You don't need to see my shoes. Hey, good to be with y'all this morning. I heard something last night. I was listening to Kyle Cease, and he said something that really resonated with my experience. And he said, there are times when you'll be like, I'm there and I'm free. And then it's like an hour later, and some of the darkest trauma arises because you made space for it. And then the mind kicks in and says, it'll always be like this.
Right.
And I find that and I'm so glad that A Course in Miracles addresses it, that the slippery slope of when I am experiencing source, or whatever word you want to use, working through me, and those spaces do open up, and I'm so full of gratitude, and then the mind wants to creep in and think it's so subtle, it's so incredibly subtle. And so I'm really grateful for that awareness, to rest in what's true. And when I hear the ego jumping in, look what I did, aren't we great? Let's go tell everybody. And that's not the truth. That's the ego going, look at me, look at me, look at me. I remember Laurence Olivier was asked why he became an actor, and he went up to he got up to the person's face that asked, and he said, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, you know. And that's what the ego was doing all the time. Look at me, look at me, look at me, And I'm grateful for that awareness, and that I don't, and I'm grateful for A Course in Miracles for addressing all those little tiny issues that want to jump in and, as Sandra, get rid of my serenity. And I love that word too. I love that word too. And I'm grateful that there's a prayer even surrounding that word, And but that really rang with me last night, as it was very true for my experience, And to be aware that when there is the spaciousness of awareness, and when to recognize that space was available for more releasing and dying to what's not true to me anymore, dying to all those parts of me that aren't true. And I'm just really, really grateful for hearing y'all and hear how you do it. And it really, but the guidance in the teachings and in these meetings is just invaluable. And that y'all turn me on to all these different teachers that I can go listen to when y'all aren't around. And so thank y'all so much for letting me share.
Thank you, Livy, as always. Good morning, Lonnie.
Good morning, family. Sandra, we love and adore you. There was a sentence you said today that you've said before that always rings through this system. And today the sentence was the possibility of losing my hearing. And there was a conversation that occurred, and I'm sharing this because right now I can't move past it unless I let it out. So the conversation from me was, I wonder what it must be like to be in that experience. And then I heard two things. One was, it's like trying to figure out different ways of understanding hearing. The other thing that I heard, which I was almost in tears over, was how amazing it was that as you perceive yourself as losing your hearing, you hear the divine so loudly and so clearly. And so as I sat with it, I realized that for all of us, really, the invitation is there to kind of redefine, or for lack of a better term, re-see everything of what we think we know how it's supposed to be. We might find out that there's some broader ways of experiencing that. One of the ways that my system always heard, there's one in my system that when someone is talking, never listens to their words, but always watches their lips and their eyes and their hands and their feet if we're in presence. Because she says that they tell so much more than the words do. So I just needed to say that out loud and to tell you how much we love you.
Mm. It's so funny how the senses all happen in the mind. We think that they're all outside us, but it's all arising in the awareness of the mind. I watched a woman talk about a near-death experience she had when she got COVID, and she talked about rising through various dimensions, through 3 dimensions, 4 dimensions, 5 dimensions, 6 dimensions. And the interviewer said, "What do you mean when you say dimensions? Because I can think of 3 dimensions, but I can't think of really 4 or 5 or 6. I can't really imagine that because we've never had the experience of it. We don't normally experience hearing without the ears, right? Or seeing without the eyes, and yet it's there. And I have no doubt that if Sandra's path is for her to lose her hearing, her material hearing, that she is not perfectly capable of developing other forms of hearing, of inner hearing, that may actually be more accurate than what the ears have been telling. And if that happens, and I'm certainly not wishing that, because that would be difficult. No one wants anybody to have difficulty, but I'm sure that Sandra would be willing to explore that with us, if that's the case.
Well, I'll tell you something that's really cool. There's there's this thing called tinnitus. You may have heard it. It's like a ringing in the ear, but there's also a loud roar that was in my head for a while. And one day when I was just sitting and quietly, I had the realization that, it's the brain. I don't know if it's the brain or the mind, but the brain actually is what's hearing, not the ears. So I thought, well, if that's true, and I'm in charge of my brain, I can change that to music. And I have changed it to music. And it's like these beautiful violins because I love classical music and, like Pachelbel's Canon in D or something like that. And I just changed that to those beautiful violins while I'm walking around. And it's really cool. Now, that's a physical thing. But as far as hearing without the ears, it's true. And what Lonnie said about words, I always totally trust. I trust completely the frequency I get from people more than the words they're saying. I mean, it's just so obvious to me. And it's been like that since I was a child. I mean, I can just feel more, I can feel more than what I hear. So who knows? But yes,
Mhm.
I have so much joy. I overflow with joy. So I like sharing that with all of you and with everyone.
Thank you, Sandra. William, good morning.
Good morning. I recall when I was at my grandson's wedding, over 100 people, the sounds. I couldn't understand anything. I'd ask, speak in my ear, couldn't sound it, couldn't make it out. And at times I just didn't even try. I just smiled. I thought, this is so simple. It's like I love when I eat in silence and there's other people eating in silence. I don't have to talk. I don't have to think. I just get to do now. So when I look at my face, I don't see, there's no face there. And that is so intriguing because when you think about it, no face, no seeing with these retinal lines, and with the labyrinth and hearing, HEAR, but I'm hearing, HERE. I'm just hearing, I'm feeling, I'm hearing, I'm here, I'm here now, I'm here now, I'm here now. I don't see me, I see whatever that is out there, but those are my retinal eyes. What if, just as I'm here, I don't see me, I know there's no you either when you look, because what I'm doing, I know you're also capable. So we're all just hearing, HEREING. We're hearing a different kind of hearing and a different kind of seeing without a retinal eye. Wow, it is so simple. I forget it, and then, oh my God, I turn around and look. I don't find me again. Ah, what a nice reminder. No me, no me, no face, no face. I see faces, no face. Okay, no problem. No conflict, because no face. It's okay, because I know there's no face and no face. It's just hearing. Thank you. It's so wonderful to be here. It really is. And I'm making up a whole bunch of images now. Cute, pretty, smiling, not whatever. But they're all just little floating, and I don't have to pay attention to them. I can, whatever. It's a game. I'm just gonna be. Thank you.
Thank you, William. That's a great way for us to close out. It's 10:57.
Thank you. And Alka, if I'm reading your comment, Sandra does have subtitles. You know, there is Zoom can set that up on individual screens. So
Okay,
if you have
great.
trouble,
That was the first thought that jumped into my mind. I didn't go into anything
if,
else.
if I interpreted that right, Zoom already
Okay,
has the ability to do that individually. So for anyone that
okay.
needs that, Sandra could tell you how.
We can't use Sandra.
All right, let me stop the recording.